bitch is gay. Good for them. Good for them. Queerness in Persona, am I right? So if you happen to stumble on this video because you're the type of person who likes to watch video essays about pieces of media that they've never consumed ever in their life, no judgment, I do too. The Persona franchise is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series, which is a video game franchise. The Persona franchise focuses more on high school life and the changes that a teenager goes through in identity and just the life struggles that come with being a child who is growing up and trying to figure out the world as they go. The series was originally started in 1996, and it became a lot more popular than the original Shin Megami Tensei series. You've probably heard about Persona. The chance that you've heard about Shin Megami Tensei is a little less big. Because the Persona franchise deals a lot with identity, the term persona is literally from Jungian psychology, which is about the masks we wear and present to other people. There are actually a few queer people in the series, and I want to talk about that. Talk about the history, the things that it represents, the mistakes that were made. I'm a very opinionated queer person. Just a disclaimer, this will be about my opinions. I will try and represent some counter-arguments, or at least give the writers the benefit of the doubt in a lot of situations. There is a certain section in this video that every person who knows about Persona and who knows about queer representation in Persona knows that that's going to be very heated in the comments if this video takes off. If you want to share your opinion, which is totally valid, please be just kind of decent and watch the whole video. By the way, I will try and leave timestamps in the video itself so that if you've not played a specific game, you can just skip it if you want to avoid spoilers. We won't get into spoilers like massively, but if you're the type of person who wants to play a game fully blind, you just skip parts. Persona 1 is easy, no queer people. I can move on to Persona 2. Persona 2 has a lot of openly queer characters, which is pretty surprising for a game from 1999. During the course of the game, there's a lot of hints that one of the characters, Lisa, has a crush on the main character, Tatsuya. Eventually, Lisa confesses to Tatsuya. As the player, you can either reciprocate Lisa's feelings, or you can choose any other party member during that section of the game, which is either Maya, Ikichi, Jun, or Lisa. Ikichi is more implied to be platonic because Ikichi actually has a girlfriend at that point, so he's not gonna date you. But notably, Jun is a guy. We're going to ignore that Mai is an adult. Jun here is openly gay, and it is also just during the game also very much implied that he has a crush on Tatsuya. When you choose your romance option in this game, it doesn't have like a massive effect on the game, but it's cute. It's a nice little detail. Some demons will comment on it. You can like have different little interactions. There's some really funny ones. That's about it, but it's nice. Just a small little thing. It's not a big deal. It's just like, yeah, they're boyfriends now. Go them. These bitches gay. In a discussion about good representation, a lot of fans will point out a interview in Double Jump that Atlas did. Question: in previous Persona games, there's only been one case where the main character could date a character of the same gender. Will there ever be the option to have the main character date another of the same gender? Answer: it's the first question in reference to Jun Kuruzo in Persona 2. We created that scene as an experiment to see how players would react to this particular scenario. There's a subculture within female Japanese fans of anime and comics where they value romantic relationships between fictional male characters in a different way than real-life gay culture. We were wondering if we could satisfy those fans. And continue saying that they don't have any plans of creating any more gay characters. So they did it for female audiences. it's kind of giving the same energy as like straight men who enjoy watching two women kiss. It's a little bit yikes. The motivation wasn't to uplift queer stories, it's just to satisfy a niche, which I don't like. However, I do want to like point out, in a lot of these kinds of conversations when people talk about women who enjoy gay ships, and then they immediately go, that's fetishization. Women are never allowed to enjoy anything, and it becomes very easily just misogynistic to find a reason to hate on something women enjoy. There's a difference between fetishizing gay men and enjoying a gay ship, okay? I don't want to be overly too negative about it, because Jun is actually a really nice character. He is very well written. He does have a little bit of the like horror problem where he is a bit too late into the game. But like, he is well written. His relationship with Tatsuya is actually important and meaningful to the character, so it actually makes sense. It's not just put in there just to be put in there. It like makes sense. His entire character revolves around his childhood with Tatsuya. Their personas are literally manifestations of the gifts that they gave each other as kids. They are very much intertwined with each other, and at the same time, Jun being gay is not his entire personality. He's actually a complex character, which I will say a lot of fans will just pretend that that's his entire person. It's not. It's not. He's like an actual well-written character. And then we get to a lesser-known Persona 2 character who is queer. Anna Yoshisaka, who I wish was written better in regards to her queerness. She's actively described to have romantic feelings for one of the main characters, Yukino, which this is where the issues arise. Anna is 17 years old. Yukino is an adult. Yukino is from Persona 1. In that game, she's very much a delinquent, and she kind of learns from one of her teachers, her counselor, to be like better and care a bit more about her future. Anna herself is also going down a really bad path due to an accident that happened in her life, and she kind of just gives up. And Yukino sees herself in Anna and kind of wants to uplift her, despite, you know, Anna being an antagonist, because Anna is 17 years old, and her being a bad person is something that can be turned around. And it's very sweet, and the idea of Anna admiring Yukino works really well. On a platonic level, there's just this one scene. It's sort of like a bad ending route. It's not an ending, but it's like a if you choose the wrong thing, this will happen thing, where you leave Yukino behind, and then you come across Shadow Yukino with Anna, and Shadow Yukino is actively manipulating Anna.
Oh, look, Anna. Some more toys have come to play with us. More toys? It hurt, didn't it? When they shattered your dreams. It was so painful not knowing what to do with your life, wasn't it? That's why it's okay to destroy it all. Hey, don't say that with Yukino's face. The real Yukino wouldn't say that. Foolish girl. I am the real Yukino.
And then you fight both of them. And then Yukino, like Shadow Yukino, kisses Anna to taunt the party.
Anna, come over here this instant. The real Yuki is waiting outside. Yuki, no? And they kiss. And it's disgusting. Such a cute little dolly. And no one's going to take her from me.
And she, like, at the end of it, takes Anna and jumps off a bridge with her.
Huh. You really are fools, you know. Didn't I tell you? I am Yukino. This girl here and myself, I'm taking both of us into the abyss of the collective unconscious. Damn you fools! Wait!
I know that this is supposed to be like a bad ending. It's not, you're not supposed to see it as a good thing. But the fact that the only sapphic kiss, like the first and only sapphic kiss in the Persona franchise was that? Not great. I am all for having bad queer representation in the sense of toxic relationships and fucked up people, because that is good. We deserve representation of all kinds. But it becomes kind of a problem when the only representation you have is bad, because it kind of paints this picture as being queer being bad, or at least the idea of always having to see the queer people die at the end, you know, bury your gays, or at least not get a happy ending, kind of gets this idea in our head that gay people will never have a good ending. So it's just a little bit yikes. The good ending, like the good version of this moment, is more shown to be platonic. So then it kind of implies that the bad part about it was the queerness, which obviously I know it's not. Both Anna and Jun are antagonists, and I love me a queer-coded antagonist, a queer-coded villain, but it's fine the way it's done here, but having queer people always be the bad guy is not good, because it associates us with badness. And I don't need every queer character to be a symbol of purity, obviously. But you kind of get my point. If the only active, overt queer people in your stories are bad people, it paints a bad picture. Which I will say, I like the idea of everyone in the mass circle being gay at this point. Like, they all just go to pride events together, just that's their thing. They're just all a little bit fruity. And by the way, I know Jun and Anna are both more nuanced than that. They're both teenagers that are scared of the harsh reality that comes with growing up. And I don't think it says a lot about Anna that she almost immediately folds in that scene with Yukino. She is so scared of her life amounting to nothing, because at that point her dreams are already shattered. So for her it's just easier to accept that than maybe having hope at something better and then being disappointed again. And Yukino is supposed to show her that things get better. It got better for Yukino, and that means it can get better for Anna. And I do really love Anna. She's an underrated character, and I love her. And I think that relationship with Yukino is very sweet, and it could be done well. I don't like it, but also I do very much enjoy their relationship platonically, right? Like, it's sad. It's sad when there's these really good. It's sad when it's really well written, but there's just these really weird writing choices. However, in Eternal Punishment, Anna's best friend Niriko is implied to have feelings for Anna. This is the queer rep I need. Niriko was fully ready to murder a man for Anna. That is what a good girlfriend does. She murders men for you. I will say, one of the things that I love about Eternal Punishment is the fact that Anna and Tatsuya are besties in that universe. That is woman loving woman and man loving man solidarity.
Editing Pinky here, I completely forgot to mention the Samaru Genie, who is, I guess, mentioned to be cross-dressing. It's not particularly clear. I see a lot of people interpreting her as intersex. I can't actively find any evidence for that outside of the fact that it is maybe implied that she cross-dresses as a woman.
Persona 3 originally doesn't particularly have any openly queer characters, but in the female route, in Persona 3 Portable, Kotone is able to date guys, which you are not able to do in the original Persona 3. However, I guess his socially does not change to be more platonic, which implies that these two love each other and are intertwined with each other no matter the gender, which makes sense for their characters. I don't think Aigus would care. Aigus is just, their love is a little bit more deep than just romantic love. The main character teaches Aigus what it means to be human. They are very much important to Aigus's story. The same counts for Elizabeth, who reciprocates the main character's feelings no matter the gender. In Ryuji's social link, he mentions he would have loved Kotone even if she was a guy. This gets fully reinforced by the way Ryuji gets introduced in the Persona 3 anime, because it's the same way a shoujo anime would introduce the male love interest.
こんばんは。何してるんだい？こんな時間にこんな場所で。行かない。いいからいいから。話せ。レッツゴー。こうじゃない。
Most of this is just small, not very much in your face. It's either lightly implied or just kind of there. You can avoid it if you want. It's nice. It's fine. It's not something that like is a big deal, which I appreciate, but it's also just not massively important. Which sadly, Persona 3 does have a weird transphobic joke, which is in the scene where they go babe hunting. They come across a woman who they realize is trans, and they act like this is weird.
I'll show you that I've got balls. Then I'm sure we'll have fun. Hey, wait. What? You trying to ruin my summer of love? Isn't that hair on your chin? I missed a spot. Are you a...
There goes my chance. I was so close to snagging myself a little boy toy.
You mean she's a he?
I guess you fellas aren't quite ready for a woman like me. If you decide you want to try something a little spicier, then you know where to find me.
Which, just in general, Atlas, please stop putting these babe hunting scenes in Persona games. They're not funny. Nobody thinks they're funny. They've never been funny. Please stop adding them to your games. But also, just a scene like this very much paints a trans woman as predatory, which is a stereotype trans women have to deal with way too much. We see this all the time. It's not great. It's very bad even.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Persona 4, the most homophobic gayest game to have ever existed. This is gonna be a long one. I think we have to first start with Death of the Offer and explaining what that means. For most people, when they think of Death of the Offer, it's used in the context of when a creator turns out to be problematic and people will use that as an excuse to still enjoy that piece of media, in the sense of like, separate the art from the artist. And Death of the Offer is not entirely that. Death of the Offer is about how the intentions of the artist are less important than the interpretation of the person interpreting it. Experiences and view of the world very much affect how we consume art. And the way we perceive that art is just as important as what the person that made it meant to say. when I see a piece of art and it might remind me of a childhood memory. The artist that made it might not have intended that because they can't know about my memory, but it's still very important to me when seeing that and being like, oh, this reminds me of that. And that means I will get a greater emotional reaction out of it. We can both understand that within me consuming that piece of art, that has effect on my opinion of it. And my response to that art is not less valid because the artist didn't know about my memory as a child. This, of course, is a very nuanced thing because you cannot view a piece of media in a vacuum. The experience of the artist will also affect why they created something. And a lot of people would argue that viewing it through the lens of the original creator and maybe the cultural landscape that they existed in when they made it is just as important. It is important to analyze those cultural aspects or maybe emotional details about an artist's life that maybe led them to creating something, because that can give more insight on the existence of the thing. Of course, we will never know what the intention of an artist was when they made something, but that is what depth of the author and the camera arguments towards it kind of are. It's a nuanced topic with many opinions. You can agree or disagree with both sides. It's a nuanced topic and it kind of depends on the situation, on the art. That I wanted to kind of get that out of the way because I don't know what Atlas's intentions were when they wrote Persona 4. I will never know what they intended. I can only assume and use my own experiences to interpret what characters mean, what stories meant, what they could represent, and how they could be interpreted by other people. And I also kind of want you, if you are a type of person who dislike it when people hate on Persona 4 for their representation of queer people, that maybe this will help you understand why people can have a negative reaction to this when maybe that was not the intention. It is about, again, maybe that childhood memory. Because that childhood memory is not always positive. And yes, maybe Atlas would not have known about childhood memories that someone had, or any experiences, or cultural significance. But that will still affect how someone consumes that piece of media. And this also becomes a lot more complicated because Persona 4, technically speaking, doesn't have any explicit queer representation. Except maybe kanji. It's all up to interpretation, which is why I wanted to first start talking about how interpretations can be very different and how my interpretation is not less valid than your interpretation. I wanted just to have that also clear. If you view this differently than I do, then that's fine. I am not forcing you to suddenly hate or think differently about any of these characters. Because I don't hate these characters. I just have critiques of them. And like, my opinion is not more valid just because I have a camera pointing at my face. Ganji is a big guy who is scared of being perceived as being gay because of his feminine interests. His shadow, which represents the part of himself that he's hiding, is very flamboyant and very obviously a gay caricature.
A superb sight for those searching for sublime love that surpasses the separation of the sexes. I'm your host, Kanji Tatsumi, serving you this scandalously special sneak-in report. Goodness gracious, just imagine the things that might happen to me there. Woo! Well then, let's get this show on the road. Toodaloo!
Well, I understand that a shadow is supposed to be the parts of a person that they hide from people, and how this is actively over-exaggerated and uncomfortable, you can understand how someone might not be a big fan of how kanji is handled here. And for kanji to then just go, well, I'm not like that, it inherently paints what this shadow is portraying as bad. It's supposed to be a joke. The stereotypical caricature of a gay man that kanji's shadow portrays is supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be bad. And kanji then says that he is not like that. Because while kanji does say that he accepts that he likes feminine things, he never directly states that he's okay with being gay. And I do want to say that the quote from kanji where he says that he is uncertain about his identity and he hasn't figured out whether he likes guys or girls, I really like that actually. I think that is a very nice detail. Kanji is only 15. Those kinds of stories are not black and white. Anyone who is queer knows that figuring yourself out is not like a one-way road. It's very complicated, and I really like that the answer is not straightforward. At the same time, most of the characters are weirded out by this gay caricature. And then the story just kind of goes, it's okay for kanji to like feminine things because he's not like that. He's not like that. That one is bad, but kanji's not bad. He does like feminine things, but he's not like that. He's a good one. He's fine. He's not gay. And after this, the aspect of kanji of him maybe being gay is just used as comic relief. It just goes, hey guys, remember when kanji thought he was gay? And it's especially awkward during the camping trip.
Kanji, don't you have more space on your side?
And I can't sleep over there, or my back's gonna break.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Yeah?
Why'd you come to this tent?
I already told you. Jeez, wrong with you?
This is as good a time as any, so I want you to be honest with us.
Okay.
Are you really,
Am I really what?
What I mean is, are we gonna be safe alone with you?
What? What the hell's that supposed to mean? I already told you guys I'm not like that.
Well, then why are you all hot and bothered about it? That's just more suspicious.
Because having people be uncomfortable around you because you might be gay is way too close to home. I feel like every queer person ever has been in a changing room with the same sex. And if you are out at that point in your life, people will just be like, yeah, but you're not into me, right? Because that'd be kind of weird. Like, it hits too close to home. Yosuke is a character we're supposed to like. I don't want to be reminded of the people that, like, were mean to me in my childhood. So I can already hear the comments say that I'm part of the problem. I'm the reason kanji is scared of being perceived as gay, because people immediately have assumptions about men who like feminine things. So, let's talk about, why do I think kanji is gay? Because it's not because he likes feminine things. I think he's gay because he likes men, and maybe women. Because he has a crush on Naruto, who at that point in the game we assume is a boy. The game then backtracks on this, talking about how Naruto is a girl, but like, kanji likes someone that he thought was a boy and he was fine with that, or at least he was questioning it and was okay with it. Yeah, I could maybe like a guy. I do like the point the story makes about how we assume men who like feminine things are inherently gay, which is wrong and not correct. Men should be allowed to be feminine. Men are allowed to be feminine, and men are often scared of being feminine, with always kind of the idea of being perceived as gay. But like, we're not fully unpacking why we see gay as a negative thing, or even femininity in that, for that matter, because it inherently stems from misogyny, that you gotta have to be different to be feminine as a man, because feminine bad, gay bad. The game fails to detach the negativity from those words, and instead just goes, men should be allowed to enjoy these things without being perceived as gay, without unpacking why we think being gay is bad. It tries, but it fails to make its point. Like, Kanji's struggle, like real struggle, is with toxic masculinity, and somehow the game attaches gayness to that. It puts way too much emphasis on the being gay part. It absolutely fails to make its conclusion at once. It would have been an amazing point and message to make. If it would have been a cool message if it centered around Kanji's gender expression and identity, and how it's healthy to express that even when it is feminine, because men should be allowed to be feminine. The story should have never added the gay aspect to it, because it just muddles the message. Gender identity and sexual orientation are two separate things. While these conversations are often mixed up, I feel like it just, again, it muddies the waters of Kanji's character. His socialing does this so much better because it focuses on his feminine hobbies. And it actually unpacks the toxic masculinity that he was taught. It's an actually amazing socialing. I love Kanji's socialing. Why is the arc right before that so bad? I'm not saying Kanji should have been gay because he likes feminine things. I think the writers let Kanji's character down when they portrayed his shadow as a stereotypical gay man and then made that be the thing that Kanji is scared of being perceived as. Because it implies Kanji should be scared of that. He should be scared of being perceived as gay. And it just, it's gay bad, and it never unpacks why. It just goes, you shouldn't assume someone is gay, which is true, but it never unpacks why Kanji is scared of that. There's nothing wrong with being perceived as gay. Why do we think that? Why do we think it's bad to be perceived as gay? The writers are from a different time, but the game acts like it knows what it's talking about. It acts like Kanji could be gay, and the writers just never fully address everything that entails. It's not the most problematic thing written ever, but it's like, I am allowed to analyze this from a modern lens, because people will just always hide behind the idea of it's written in a different time. It's like, yeah, it is. It's not the most problematic thing written ever, but I am allowed to analyze this from a modern lens. Before we get into Naruto, I'll talk about Yosuke, because a lot of the issues with Yosuke are related to Kanji. Because Kanji is treated as a joke, mostly by Yosuke. It's just sad to see a character I'm supposed to like be rude to one of his friends constantly, and the story just kind of expects me to think it's funny. One of Persona 4's biggest issue is how it wants to have its cake and make fun of it too. One of its biggest examples is Ebihara, which this is a fully side tangent about a non-queer character, but I have a point. She's one of my favorite socialings in the entire franchise. It's a story about a girl who struggles with her self-image because she was bullied for being fat, so she forced herself to slim down so she could be accepted by the people that were bullying her. But despite being who she thought people wanted to be, she's still insecure and people still don't like her, and it's still not enough. These insecurities is something she's still dealing with, because even when she's looking the part, it's not enough, and that is something that she has to deal with in how she has to learn how to gain self-love, in the sense that she is enough and she doesn't need to constantly have to force herself to change for other people. Meanwhile, Persona 4 has a walking fat joke as a character.
Hanako-san, why are you here?
Like, the game is both trying to criticize society for forcing a beauty standard on a person, while also making fun of those people who don't fit the beauty standard.
A motorcycle date, huh? Well, if you want to take a ride that bad, I'll go with you.
Wait!
And it sucks because it ruins the point. Amihara's story works less because there's a walking fat phobia joke. I feel like this just fully perfectly illustrates my issue with Persona 4 in a way it writes characters, because they're well-written characters, but it then turns around and makes fun of them in a way that's not supposed to be. You're ruining your own point. Yosuke is not the only one that makes fun of Kanji, but he's mostly the most vocal. This, in addition to the fact that he was supposed to have a romance route, but it was deleted, does paint the image of a boy with internalized homophobia. The game never really goes into this, and even if the romance route would have been there, I don't think it would have fully captured the nuance of it. Like, especially with the removal of Yosuke's romance route, it just makes him a worse person because it doesn't have that nuance that he greatly deserves. They had a great opportunity to show a different side to being queer and they just didn't do it. It has turned dark and now my lighting sucks. That just leaves Naoto, a character I am truly passionate about. If you feel like I got heated in the last section, you've not seen shit. Naoto is a character who is highly debated in the fandom. They are introduced into the story as a masc-presenting person, but are later revealed to be a girl. Some would say their gender is pretty clear-cut. They say they are a girl, so they are a girl, and like, normally, yes, that is how that works. Especially in real life. I don't want to shut down that interpretation. Naoto was supposed to be a girl who was forced to leave her feminine aspects behind in an attempt to be respected. A message about femininity in the workspace deserving as much respect as masculinity is important, and I understand and respect that interpretation. I feel like, however, that this is massively ignoring aspects of Naoto's character that the writers purposefully put in. If you are a writer, you put stuff into your story with a reason, or at least you think about it longer than 5 seconds. Because Naoto doesn't just actively push away their feminine traits, they are actively experimenting with their gender identity. In the same way a trans boy would, where binding their chest, wearing masculine clothes and a uniform, and even their shadow voicing a desire for bottom surgery.
Let us begin the body alteration procedure! You have no objections, do you, Naoto Shirogane? Stop it! Naoto. Such a cool, manly name. But a name doesn't change the truth. It doesn't let you cross the barrier between the sexes. How could you become an ideal man when you were never male to begin with?
Of course, a girl is allowed to be a tomboy in the same way that a man is allowed to be feminine. We had a whole rant about that. Like, I'm not saying someone acting masculine is inherently a reason for that person to be trans. Naoto does say they are a girl. This seems more like a recognition of their situation and how they are unable to change that, instead of them being comfortable with it. Still say they want to be a boy, and I understand that that is from the perspective of a girl who doesn't want to have to deal with misogyny anymore. That's the issue, right? Naoto is showing more than just tomboyish traits. They are someone who has actively already started their transition, because one of the misconceptions with the term transition is that it's about medical transition. But no, the first step in transitioning is social transition, which is changing stuff about your environment and yourself that are maybe not as drastic as medical intervention. AKA changing your pronouns, having people refer to you by the correct gender, binding or using ways of changing your body that is not medical. Wearing masculine clothes, or at least clothes you're comfortable in, maybe getting a haircut that is more gender affirming. And we can all recognize, right, that that is what social transition is. And that Naoto has already actively been through that, because people actively assume and recognize that they are a boy. And with that in mind, the message that is very easy to read is that a trans boy is actually just a girl trying to escape misogyny, which is actually rhetoric that you hear a lot in turf spaces and is just not good. And like, I'm not saying the writers of Persona 4 would have been actively aware of the political climate regarding trans issues at this time. But I hope you also can recognize that there is a good reason why some people maybe recognize Naoto as trans or are uncomfortable with the way their story was handled. This is not even going into the romance route, because even if Naoto wasn't transcoded, forcing someone who is uncomfortable into clothes that they are not comfortable in is weird. But that is also a sign that Naoto might be experiencing gender dysphoria. That was a whole rant. I hope that made sense. With that, again, I want to reiterate, my interpretation is not less valid than your interpretation. I can fully recognize why some people might like Naoto, the way they were written, and how they might see themselves in that as a girl. I hope, again, that you can also recognize that there are reasons, and good reasons, why people view Naoto as a trans boy and are uncomfortable with the way they were written. Final Persona 4 queer character is the dance instructor from Persona 4 Dancing, maybe. I haven't played it, but on the wiki it says that the character is referred to with female pronouns in Japanese, but male pronouns in English. I don't know what to think about this. It's kind of questionable at best. Persona 5! Woo! Most people talk about the homophobic scene from Persona 5, with the stereotypically gay guys pulling Ryuji away.
What a cutie! And so muscular too. I give you an 85 out of 100.
Ah, who are you?
I'm the naughty troll of Shinjuku. I'm gonna eat you up.
Wait, let me call. It would help. You can hear me, can't you?
Show them your inner man.
Huh? You just gonna leave me like this? Come on! Your best friend in trouble here!
What an energetic stud muffin. I'll give you all the freebies you could desire.
The night is young, and so are you. Let's party it up.
And I feel like I don't even have to explain why this is bad. It portrays gay men as predatory, which is bad. Tried to fix it in Royal. The way to fix it, Atlas, is to delete it. Staying in the red light district, we have Lala-chan, who is the love of my life. Lala is exclusively referred to with she/her pronouns, but has a deeper voice. There's maybe a sort of implication that she is trans, or some kind of drag queen. It's never explicitly stated, and all I know is that she's an icon, and I love her. When working at Crossroads, Ren can ask her if he is allowed to cross-dress. The theme of Ren asking or voicing the desire in dialogue to want to wear feminine clothes. Persona Q2 is where he asked Elizabeth if he's also allowed to wear a dress Ren gets shut down in most of these scenarios. In Memento's mission, he actually gets to wear feminine clothing as a disguise, and he slays. He slays for sure.
Look at my man.
I mean, if this isn't like actively gender to you, like if this isn't gender to you, I don't know what is. It's something I just generally very much appreciate about Ren's character, is that this is a guy who likes wearing feminine clothes in certain situations, and it's not treated as weird. It's just like a thing he enjoys. It's nice. I like it, and he looks good in it. In Persona 4, the boys are forced to cross-dress, which is supposed to be comedic, but it just doesn't hit the mark because, again, forcing people into clothes that they are not comfortable in is just not fun. Even if it's as revenge, it's just weird. Again, reinforces the idea that men wearing feminine clothes is bad and weird.
Look, this. You're laughing stocks up here.
With Ren, he is fully comfortable with expressing his femininity in certain situations, and it's not treated as weird, it's not treated as ugly. He fucking slays. He looks good. Peak gender. We love it. And this is also Ren not being inherently trans, but being what we consider gender non-conforming. Persona 5 doesn't have any other explicitly queer characters outside of Yusuke, who might be implied to be aromantic. There's multiple jokes where Ryuji will be going off about girls or something like that, and Yusuke doesn't fully understand it. I don't know if the aromantic coding with Yusuke was intended, but it's great nonetheless. I like him. It's nice. We need more aromantic or asexual characters in this world. And now we get to the point where I have mentally debated with myself whether I should include this bitch. Because I don't want to get too much into fanon headcanons, because I feel like almost every character at some point has been headcanon to be gay or trans. Because people like different interpretations of characters, and they're allowed to do that. And just because one headcanon is more popular doesn't make it more part of the text. I don't want to just focus on ships, because I'd be sitting here all day. However, I do want to talk about Goro Akechi. I don't think Atlus wrote Akechi with queer themes in mind originally. Ariel very much put much more emphasis on the relationship between Akechi and Ren. And in this interview, they even refer to Royal Trio's dynamic as a love triangle. He'll coldly say something like, "So that's all you got, huh?" In a sense, it's like he's involved in a love triangle going on with the protagonist. I think it's an interesting period in the story where he seems to be like whatever to anyone other than Joker. This entire dynamic is very complicated and deserves a video on its own because Akechi is one of my favorite characters. However, there is no denying that the creators of Royal were aware of Shuake as a ship when they wrote Royal. And it comes very close to queerbaiting, I'll be honest with you. Queerbaiting being when a company kind of adds tension between two characters to maybe hint at them being gay to reel in gay viewers without ever actually fulfilling on this promise, because making characters explicitly gay sometimes can be a risk. So, like, basically what they did with Persona 2, however, there they actually had the balls to make Jun gay. I'm not saying Shuake should be made canon. The way the Persona franchise functions with multiple romance roots in mind, it kind of destroys any option at any relationship being the canon one. But I do acknowledge that Akechi was actively written into a romantic dynamic with the main character, for Royal at least. I feel like that is an additional note that I want to add on to that, is that they were aware of it when they wrote Akechi. It is not fully canon. toe the line, but at the same time, no, he's gay. He's gay. It's not there in the text, but he's gay. They know he's gay. Recent Persona 5 Tactica, they added a little wedding scene similar to Persona Q's wedding scenes. Q, it is kind of treated as a joke when you choose 2 male characters. And here, you can also choose the boys as an option. This was treated as normally as it could have been, because like, a scene as this isn't particularly serious or important to the plot. But they didn't treat the male romances as less of a valid option, which I very much appreciate. Of course, I've not brought up that gay romances is often treated as an oddity in these games, right? We have so many female romances that I have to actively point out when we do kind of get a slither of content when it comes to queer representation, even when basically we've barely had any fully explicit canon story romance since Persona 2. Like, I am personally of the opinion that we should fully get rid of the romance mechanic because it doesn't add anything, and I would prefer to have meaningful romances that are canon to the story instead of having these little fluffy side things that don't really do anything and aren't really... They don't add anything to the characters or are important to the plot. If you're going to do romance routes, you should have at least consider gay romance as an additional option, because having being gay as an oddity and a small side note that is maybe a possibility, it's 2023, 24 probably when I upload this. Like, I hope this video doesn't come across as me complaining too much, because I do love the Persona franchise. This is why I have all this knowledge. This is why I have played all of these games. It is a subject that I particularly care about and know a lot about, and I wanted to talk about it because I like these games. I like these characters. I think it has a lot of potential, the Persona franchise, to add more queer characters to a game franchise that does focus on the identity of teenagers in high school. Identity is a big part of being queer, and exploring that would be really cool. I don't want to just be disrespectful. I don't mean to be mean. I don't want to complain too much. This is, again, just a subject that I'm very passionate about, and I feel like talking about because I am passionate about it, and I like these games, and I see the potential that is there. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I will make more content about random things that interest me. Look up my socials. I make art. I draw a lot. So if you like art, just check out my socials. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching!